Hello friends. So welcome once again after Diwali, and today we shall talk about P.B. Shelley, a great romantic poet. And today we shall try to know the differences between P.B. Shelley and John Keats, and also throw light on romanticism with a new aspect. What is romanticism? And you are studying these days romanticism, so you must know what are the elements and what are the parts of romanticism and how you can interpret it. So, congratulations to all of you friends. Happy Diwali, and get light in your own life, get enlightenment in your own life, so that the meaning of Diwali can be happened in your life. You can be a symbol of Diwali. So once again, happy Diwali to all of you, and now I'm going to begin my topic. Today we shall talk about P.B. Shelley. Particularly, P.B. Shelley is a romantic poet. My friends, there are some confusion about romanticism, because so many students know that romanticism means romance, love, affection, but it's not appropriate explanation. It's not appropriate meaning of romanticism. But in literature, romanticism is a big phenomenon. It's a big thing which requires a big aspect, which requires a big scenario, big canvas to be understood simply. Romanticism means not only romance, love. Love is a factor. Romance is a factor, a part of romanticism. But romanticism is included also with nature, sensation, cheerfulness, and dose of life. It has so many dimensions. So you try to understand that romanticism is a big scenario. It's not limited only with romance. It goes beyond to romance also. And today our topic is P.B. Shelley, very great poet of romantic era. But there is some difference. You have read the poem of John Keats, Ode to a Nightingale, and you have also read the poem of P.B. Shelley, Ode to a Skylark. You must know what is the difference between nightingale and skylark. Both are birds. Both flies in the sky. Both sits on the trees. Both enjoys nature. But what is difference between nightingale and skylark? My friends, nightingale sits on the trees and flies in the sky. But she comes closer to humanity. Why? If a nightingale is sitting on the tree, she can understand, she can know what is happening on the earth, what is going on with the humanity. But Shelley's skylark never comes on the earth. This is difference. The skylark of Shelley comes never on the earth. She has no approaches with the earth or humanity. She flies in open sky, high and high. So this is big difference between nightingale and skylark. Skylark is more imaginary. She wants only to fly in space, above in the sky. So with this example, you can understand the difference between Keats and skylark. Keats is also imaginary. Keats also makes imagination. But his imagination is nearer to our reality, our earth, our foundation, our base. But Skylark of Shelley, or the theme of Shelley, goes far away for the humanity sometime when he makes imagination. It means he flies above in the realm of imagination. That is Shelley. And one aspect also I want to interpret, my friends, that all the romantic poets had been addicted and they were somewhat depressed by their lovers. John Keats, he became addict of tuberculosis. He became, so thin, so weak because his beloved departed him. His beloved gone far away from him. So this was happened with so many poets of romantic era. And this is the reason why this glimpse, this sound reflexes time to time in the poems of this age poets. They are not marginalized from that agony, from that pathos which comes out of separation from their beloveds. It happened also with P.B. Shelley. He was separated from his beloved. He was separated from his girlfriend. And that was a shock for him. That was very tormenting for him. That love tormented Shelley. So he writes, the love of moth for the star and night for the morrow, my devotion is something afar from the sphere of our sorrow. These lines can't be composed without separation, without departure, without a big gap between lover and beloved. So this is P.B. Shelley. I try to make you understanding the differences in the main aspect of P.B. Shelley. Now I shall talk about him point to point with the help of PDF. So come on, my friends, get ready and get set. Now I shall talk about our PDF, P.B. Shelley. You care the pronunciation of Shelley. Shelley. This is Shelley. Some students say Shelley, Shelley, Shelley. No, Shelley. The right pronunciation is Shelley. Come on. He was born in Sussex in England on 4th August 1792. Ages, this year is important, 1792. He was son of Timothy Shelley. He died in Italy in 1822. When he died? 1822. He was educated at Eton and Oxford. He published a pamphlet on the necessity of atheism, so was expelled from university. Atheism, theism and atheism. You believe in God or not? If you believe in God, you are theist. And if you don't, if you does not belong in God, you are atheist. So, Shelley wrote a pamphlet about atheism and he was expelled from university. He was expelled from university. So, in West, the difference between theism and atheism is based on God. You believe in God or not. But in India, if you deeply think about that, the difference between theism and atheism is that you believes in Vedas or not. Theists believe that Vedas are, God's creation, that is not man-made, but atheist believe that this is made by man. This is the difference between theist and atheist. And this question has been put up in PCS exam by UPPSC. And the right answer was that at which base you will make a difference between theist and atheist. So the right answer is at the base of Vedas, not at the base of God in India, at the base of Vedas. This is the reason why Sankhya philosophy is estimated under theist frame, and Sankhya philosophy does not believe in God, but that is estimated under theist campaign. Why? Because Sankhya philosophy believes in Vedas. So the differential border is Vedas in Hindu philosophy between theism and atheism, theist and atheist. But in West there is no Vedas. So in West the main base is God. Remember that, don't be confused. So P.B. Shelley wrote a pamphlet on atheist and expelled from university. He married Harriet Westrock at the age of 19. Later on, they married Mary Godwin. In 1818, he took up his residence in Italy, where he took his last breath. It means he died in Italy. His wife Mary Godwin was daughter of William Godwin. He lived in Italy because he loved the land best. Why he lived in Italy? He loved that place, Italy. P.B. Shelley loved that place, Italy. At the age of 30, he drowned in the Gulf of Spezia in Italy and died. Oh, how bad news! How bad news! At the age of 30, when he was 30 years old, he drowned in the Gulf of Spezia in Italy and died. He died when he was of 30. And today we remember P.B. Shelley. Why, In this short period, 30 years period of his life, he made his impression all over the world. Today we remember and we study about him all over the world in English literature. How amazing. So it's very important fact. Remember, that at the age of 30, he drowned in the Gulf of Spezia in Italy and died. His ashes were buried near John Keats in the Roman cemetery. Oh, his ashes were buried near John Keats in the Roman cemetery. It means John Keats and P.B. Shelley both are buried in the Roman cemetery. His ashes placed in the Protestant cemetery at home near the grave of Keats. Very important. His ashes placed in the Protestant cemetery at home near the grave of Keats. In my before videos, I have interpreted Protestant. So if you see my, before videos, you can understand what is Protestant. In his attitude, he was a great revolutionary. Great revolutionary. His life was full of sorrow. His life was full of sorrow. I have talked about that in my today beginning lecture. His poems are highly musical. He was not only a lyrical singer but also a friend of the oppressed and the downtrodden. Very important. He was not only a lyrical singer but also a friend of the oppressed. Oppressed means dominated. Oppressed means dominated. And the downtrodden. Downtrodden means who have fallen from their own post, fallen from their status. So he is called a champion of equality and liberty. Very important. After reading Queen Mab, Mary fell in deeper love with Shelley. After reading Queen Mab, when Queen Mab was published, and after reading that, Mary fell in deeper love with Shelley. He was born at Field Place, near Horsham in Sussex. He was deeply impressed by the philosophy and doctrine of Godwin. In the spring of 1810, Shelley, now in his 18th year, entered the University College, Oxford, as an exhibitioner. At this stage of his life, he fell in love with his cousin Harriet Grove. Thomas Hagg, his friend, admired his poems very well. After marriage with Harriet Westbrook, he settled down at Carwick in a cottage. In June 1813, a daughter, Lanthe, was born to them. At the end of July of the same year, they moved to Bracknell in Berkshire. Shelley went to live with Godwin at his house in London. There he met many Wollstonecraft, who was then in her 17th year. As Professor Dowden says about her, she had breathed during her entire life an atmosphere of free thought. Shelley wrote to Harriet, his first wife, all about his love affair with Mary and proposed separation. The shock made Harriet ill. Oh my God. The shock made Harriet ill, but Shelley and Mary went to the continent, leaving behind poor Harriet. Not leaving behind poor Harriet. Very, tormented story, Very a story full with agony, pathos. Went to the continent, leaving behind poor Harriet. They stayed in Switzerland. Economic trouble drove Shelley and Mary back to England. Economic problem drove Shelley and Mary back to England in September. They were enforced back to England due to economic problem. Harriet committed suicide. Very bad, very bad. Harriet committed suicide as she could not bear her husband's association with Mary. How? How sorrowful, how? First type of story, breaks the heart. That's what happens. Harriet committed suicide as she could not bear her husband's association with Mary. She couldn't digest that her husband is with another wife. What happens here now? Works. Now we shall talk about works of P.B. Shelley. Queen Mab in 1819. Queen Mab in 1819. Alastor, the Spirit of Solitude, 1816. Hymn to Intellectual Beauty, Mont Blanc on Love, Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc, important, on love, triple star. Mont Blanc on love. The Cloud, Apipsidian, the Cloud Apipsidian, and after that, Helage. Helage. The Triumph of Life, important, 1 star. The Triumph of Life. Addresses to Irish People, important, 1 star. Addresses to Irish People. Alastor is a kind of spiritual autobiography. It was composed in blank verse. Alastor is a kind of spiritual autobiography. It was composed in blank verse. Prometheus Unbound 1820 is a lyrical drama in blank verse. It was written in 1819. Prometheus is defeat God. Ode to the West Wind, very, very important. Triple star question, very, very important. Ode to the West Wind. Great, great poem by P.B. Shelley. Great poem, Ode to the West Wind. O wind, be thou me. Shelley says, O wind, be thou me. It means he wants the oneness between man and nature. West wind is destroying. West wind is catastrophic. West wind is collapsing element in England. That is annihilating, that is destroyer, that is destructive, what you call destructive in England. And P.B. Shelley invites that west wind, be thou me, come with me, come and be me. What a calling of P.B. Shelley. In Hindu philosophy, Radhika says to Krishna, Lord Krishna, that come on, be thou me, तुम राधे बनो श्याम मैं नंदलाला. But that is happened in Hindu philosophy कि तुम राधे बनो श्याम मैं नंदलाला. Diversion of personality, diversion of soul to soul, diversion of heart to heart, harmonizing all the components, be one. But the calling of P.B. Shelley was with the destructor, west wind, that, O wind, be thou me. Triple star question. Ode to the West Wind. Triple star. Was written by Shelley in a wood forest near Florence, Italy in October 1819. It was inspired by the blowings of the west wind which on that day was collecting the vapors for the autumnal rains. Shelley sat spellbound, watching the movements of the wind and listening to its howling. He composed it at that moment. He was feeling all the activities of that wind, and after feeling that, at that time he is composing this great poem. In it, he personifies the west wind. He described it as force which carries off dead leaves like destroyer. The word destroyer, word all saying sometime before, He writes, and lift me as a leaf, O wind, come on, and lift me as a leaf. When the wind blows highly in high speed, what it does? The leaves which are, on the earth comes to fly. And P.B. Shelley says, O wind, come on, lift me as a wave, as a cloud, as a wave, and as a cloud, as a wave and as a cloud. What a poem, what a tremendous poem. I fall upon the thorns of life, oh my God, I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. The blood is coming from me because I am lying on the thorn. कांटों पर सोया है शैली, जीवन रूपी कांटे पर सोया हुआ है शैली. So he says, I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. This is misprint here. This is I, This is I. I bleed. This is historical line of P.B. Shelley, Professor Sainsbury is of the view that this ode is Shelley's masterpiece in calculated symmetry in structure. West wind has been described as destroyer and as a preserver. Both west wind is destroyer and also preserver. Both things are two sides of a coin. Preserver becomes sometime destroyer and destroyer becomes sometime preserver. How it happened, God is preserver, but He is Himself destroyer also. God gives you birth, God prepares you, secures you all the life, but at last He snatches you from this world. He provides you death. So that God is preserver and destroyer both. Just like west wind is destroyer and preserver both, In effect, the verse form of the ode is Tarzarima, carrot, Tarzarima, ended off with a heroic couplet. In his poem, stanzas written in dejection near Naples, very, very important. Stanzas written in dejection near Naples, triple star, very, very important. Shelley writes hopelessly, alas, I have no hope, nor health, nor place within, nor calm around. Smiling they live and call life pleasure. In his poem Stanzas written in dejection near Naples, Shelley writes hopelessly, alas, I have no hope, nor health, nor place within, nor calm around. I have nothing this time. No health, no calm, no peace with me, smiling they live. Whereas other people live with a smile. And here I am with agony. Here I am with agony. And all the humanity is smiling. And they call that they live smiling and call life pleasure. Others call life pleasure. To me, that cup has been dealt in another measure. Very, very good line of P.B. Shelley. Be close with that. Be close with that triple star. You know, to me that cup, this line care, that cup has been dealt in another measure. Oh, what a line. What a line. Shelley commented here. What he says, that cup has been dealt in another measure, means when God was pouring pleasure in the cup of life, He dealt another measure to me. Here, cup is life, you know. Cup is life. And when God was pouring pleasure in that cup, in the life of that cup, He dealt in another measure. He didn't give me more. He didn't give me more pleasure. He dealt in another measure in my cup, you know. What a line. Shelley's presentation of human misery can be seen in To a Skylark. I have interpreted in beginning, to a skylark. We look before and after and pine for what is not our. Sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. We look before and after. Here Shelley says about all the humanity that we look before and after. Sometimes we think about future and sometimes we think about past. This is the story of all human beings. Sometimes we think about future and sometimes we think about past. And pine for what is not our. And we pine for that what is not our. We become sad for that what is not our. If you say that I can't be chief minister, I can't become prime minister, and you become sad. So what is that? You pine for that what is not your, what you are not. This is the reason why the humanity has become sad. Otherwise, if you know this secret, why pine for that what's not our? Why pine for that what's not our? So, this is also great comment of P.B. Shelley. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. There is pain in laughter. Pain in laughter. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Very good comment. Very important. Triple star, you know. Triple star. This is by Shelley. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thoughts. Very important. Remember that. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought by P.B. Shelley. The Cenci was composed in 1819. The Cenci in 1819. Is a play. The Cenci 1819 is a play its heroine is Beatrice. It is a tragedy by Shelley. Julian and Medardo, 1818. The Mask of Anarchy, 1832. The Witch of Hellas, The Witch of Hellas, 1824. The Witch of Hellas, 1824. Epipsydion, 1821. Adonis, 1821. It commemorates the death of John Keats. Adonis, 1821, commemorates the death of John Keats. It is composed in a Spenserian stanza. In it, the poet visualizes the eternity of soul. The poet visualizes the eternity of soul. He believes that Keats' soul is immortal. Shelley believes that Keats' soul is immortal. Oh, Nightingale, these hungry generations can't crush you. That was a declaration of John Keats, that the generations will come